Good evening, everyone, and hello and welcome. My name is Stan Baines, and I am your chair of this session and a steering committee member for the Canadian Network for Imagination and Creativity, or CNIC for short. My fellow friends in imagination and in our steering committee with us this evening are scattered about on your screens. So if you could, committee friends, give us a wave, let us know who you are. Excellent. It is so nice to be back in this hour-long gathering place in our video conferencing world and share with you our different topics from our hosts and guests, and then open the discussions that happen afterwards with you. Our goal here at Scenic is to create and foster open, forward-thinking dialogue as we look at things from different perspectives, look to find new ideas, see creativity from different angles, from different backgrounds, and from different places. Look to find new ideas, ask questions, and explore our inner innovation. Through our discussions, it is our hope to collaborate through idea sharing, expand our minds in new directions, create partnerships in our differences, in our sameness, and in our beliefs. Let us find creativity through the exploration of our imaginations and ideas, and do this together with each other in our space. I would like to acknowledge at this time that as a resident of Clarence Rockland, Ontario, which sits just outside of the east end of the city of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, I'm chairing our meeting on traditional unceded land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe territory and people. When we learn with our hearts, we look to the past to better shape our future. We want tomorrow to be better than yesterday together. We want to reflect and participate in this journey in your own way. We want you to figure out how this works for you. So, our Idea Jams is your space to learn, explore, and to share. We want you to do that in a way that makes this space your own. Not only do we want to hear your ideas and thoughts, but listening is equally as important. Our format here is very, very simple. Once our hosts guide our discussions for the evening, we will open the floor to chats and conversations to begin. The hosts will come in and out with more ideas to add to the discussions, and then we're going to see where our journey leads us through our time together. Nothing is a bad idea, just an opportunity to explore. As you can see, Zoom is our platform of choice for this discussion, so Zoom allows us to participate in many different ways. It has built-in controls that allow you to raise your hand so we can see you, especially when there's a lot of you on the screen. As you've already been doing, you can add things to the chat function to enhance our conversation, and there's little emoticons that you can use to clap or share your expressions. Either which way, share your ideas your way and join us in the jam. So for tonight, we will be guided by Goran Matic, and a special guest for this evening. We will be talking about dragon dreaming, maximizing communication through creativity. So, without any more from me, over to you, Goran.
Thank you so much, Stan. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to share the screen. So forgive us for one moment. Can everyone see that? Thank you so much. So just as a very brief background, at least for myself, I'll let Maria introduce herself. I have the honor and the distinct privilege of serving as a board member with this esteemed group. And as Stan just pointed out, we're always looking for really ways to explore imagination and creativity in Canada and beyond. Many of us also serve at the World Creativity and Innovation Week as ambassadors for Canada that's engaged at international level. And in this capacity, I've had a really distinct pleasure also to be exposed to many different ways of innovating and really thinking about creativity from various aspects. One of them has certainly been from the academic side. My academic background is from the OCAD's Strategic Foresight and Innovation Program, the SFI. And as part of this exploration, I had a real opportunity to sort of take a look at practitioners from around the world and how innovation and creativity intertwine. Um, and what I found, I think, from your perspective, is really how central the role of creativity is, and how central the role of communication is. And it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Maria, whom I met actually at a cybernetics conference, as it would happen in British Columbia in 2019. Who's now my lovely wife. So such a pleasure that Maria agreed to present here tonight. And I remember on one occasion when we were talking about creativity and the various modalities that enable collaboration and communication, Maria asked me, "Have you ever heard of dragon dreaming?" And I said, "No, not really. Uh, what is it?" And Maria proceeded to explain how this modality works, and um, I was really quite entranced, really, with the possibilities of this modality because in all the various kind of workshops and creative methods that I've learned, I've never really seen them all put together in quite the same way. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Maria. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to see some familiar faces that I met at the in-person conference we had. Hi, Mary. And I'm very glad to present this for you today. I'm very happy with this opportunity. And my background is in architecture, but I love exploring new ideas and how to increase the amount of creativity to work with community, especially. And although my background is architecture, I always fell in love with sustainability. So I'm always trying to find ways to uh, create a process that can be more sustainable, more connected to nature. And in 2016, I did a course about dragon dreaming, and it was a very interesting exploration. Um, so, dragon dreaming is a method that helps increase collaboration through active communication. You you share your thoughts without feeling judged or trusting on yourself, trusting on your community. You create a path that you can really collaborate. So this is the main idea of dragon dreaming. Um, okay. So it was based on the systems thinking, like Ludwig von Beethoven, also Gregory Bateson from cybernetics, and Aboriginal ideas from Australia. So John Croft created this non-hierarchical method that allowed creativity, collective thinking, and sustainable projects based on these Aboriginal ideas. The main idea is that it bridges what the possibilities of what we are with what we could be. So it's not a linear path. It's something that really goes through so many connections to create something together. It bridges, you know, the process is more important than the results. So you have to build your journey by bridging these connections. So this is some main ideas, and the goals are three main goals because it's based on the Gaia Foundation Institute. They were always trying to make it more sustainable and making projects more sustainable. So the main goals are service to Earth. So make life flourish in all senses and respect the Earth, community building, strengthening the communities of which you are part. So instead of feeling isolated, you have to build your ideas in a collective intelligence. And the last one is personal growth. Is about empowering yourself. So dragon dreaming, the dragon is the fears we have, the troubles, the problems we face, and how they're dragons to us. How we think about fighting against them. But actually, there are other ways to deal with dragons, and this is why they choose the personal growth because it's a committing for you to healing yourself and then going to dancing with dragons, and that's what they say. So about dreaming, how is the dreaming in this context of dragon dreaming? So how Aboriginal understand that the idea of time is different than what we think. So if you look at this diagram on top, you see past, present, and future, right? It's a linear process, and that's how we usually think about it. But for them, it's different. uh, time is connected to dreaming, and dreaming is something that has like a path. They call it line, which is the footprint of our ancestors. So you are always kind of repeating this process and going back, and then this time is connecting past and future in the present through temporary nodes in the process of flow. So it's not something that is linear for them. It's something that has some, moments in life, and they're never eternal. They're always mutable. So dragon dreaming is also based on win-win culture. We are used to it, to win-lose culture. If I win, you lose. So this power over nature is something that we are facing since industrial times. So we need to conquer nature, right? The idea here is to work with nature, is going to a power that it doesn't belong to me, but it belongs to all of us in the flow of energy, matter, information, even chaos and entropy. We work together in this process, and everything is connected, and that's why it's sustainable. Um, so communication is a very strong aspect in dragon dreaming, because it requires you to really be aware of communicating to create something together. So there are some important points on communication that during the course I learned before starting the process of dragon dreaming, before starting thinking about a project together. We learn how to deep listen. So how do you eliminate that little voice inside your head, that brings you judgment? Then when you think about something and want to say, you kind of step back, like, oh, maybe this is silly, like these little voices that always stop us from communicating what we're saying, and becoming aware of what we really think. The other one is generative questions. They're very important along the process. They engage ourselves in reflection. So, questions that are very important in the process of the dragon dreaming, like how can we embrace community? How can we communicate these ideas to other people? And how these questions generate, a reflexivity towards the community. So there is a need for a new language that is based on this win-win culture. So deep listening is call it pinakari, and this like to really silence these little voices inside our head to overcome inner blockage. So let's say you're in the middle of the process, and then you're trying to think about something, but you cannot make the connections. The ideas are not coming. You feel like blocked somehow. So this deep listening is a moment for you to get back to yourself, center and cool down your mind, and start doing again. So it's like a moment for you to reflect on your choices too, and it's a love in action, because you put yourself back to yourself, centered on you. Generative questions is like I mentioned before, is very important in dragon dreaming. It has an emotional power uh, in the person that is asking the question, and then the other one that is receiving. So is an invitation to engage with what we do not know, and in reflective questions. There are going to be examples after. And the last, the one of the more important communication process too is the charismatic communication. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your feelings and trust that you're not going to be judged. So you have to shift into a non-influenced communication. You have to use your intuition and allow the process to speak through you, through us, and not about the project, but coming from us, through us, and trust that it's going to be safe for you to say what you really think. That's why you have to create this deep listening, these generative questions, and then this environment for the project to succeed. And there is an important thing that is called aha moments. You know, when you're saying you're thinking about something and you suddenly get some connections and you're just like, uh-huh, wait a second. You know, this is important. And there are mainly moments that you realize you didn't know something. It's not that you didn't know something, you didn't know something and you didn't know this. You know, it's something like did you know that the bees can communicate to each other and express to themselves the kilometers of plants that have more nectar than the other one? I didn't know that. When I found out, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. They're so organized. They can communicate in a very effective way. So these kind of things bring us some new connections. And the more you share these aha moments you have, the more you infect the community, the more you bring these ideas of having these aha moments. So they are very infectious. So the more you express yourself, the more you share, more ahas will come in. So this is a very interesting thing. So just to explain a little bit how the process works, it has like this wheel that goes from dreaming, planning, doing, and celebrating. These four quadrants are very connected. They are the intersection between individual and environment and how they are connected based on theory and praxis. So these four axes are very important for us to understand because some parts of the projects we go from a more individual idea and then we go to the community, to the environment. So we are transiting to a more extroverted moment of the project. And then when you are finalizing the project, you get back to this individual understanding, you know, like a new process of elucidating what you learned, new skills, and then you get back to yourself in a more introspective way. And then you have this theory, right? And so the ideas that are becoming the practical part of the project. So this circularity inside the project. Just so to just to explain a little bit, the dreaming is about the awareness of an idea, how you motivate this idea through collective intelligence, how you gather information together. And then there are some ways to do it. So you go from the usually you get together and you propose ideas that everyone has, and you know people vote on one idea of only one person, and this idea becomes a collective idea. It's not yours anymore. And then you communicate this, and then becomes an awareness. And this idea is enriched by the collective intelligence. And lots of contradictions come in this moment, but they are not a problematic thing. You just have to work with them. They generate the aha moments together because contradictions help you to understand new things, you know, learn things that you didn't know. And then while you were doing this process of brainstorming and then putting together ideas about the same subject, you should read these dreams after as in a past sentence. So you're not going to talk about, I will do something. No, this is like, this creates a new energy when you say in the past sentence, I did this, you know, like I developed this. And this idea of the past sentence help us to generated this group energy that something can be done. And this is a very important thing. So the planning is this coming from this theory, right, to the practice, the beginning of the practice, and how you start connecting with the environment. So here you're going to consider about the goals and the objectives of the project, how you're going to strategize this, how you're going to really develop this with the community, how you're going to put this further. So there are several steps that are very important in this planning part. You have objectives that you have to deal with. So you put a group together, and then you have like 30 posts to put the goals, to put the objectives that you want for the project. Everyone has their share of the post-its, and then you start putting in columns together, and then you find out that, you know, at least three people put the same objectives, you know, like, so you kind of start finding the keywords and things that can be together, and then you become, you know, you turn this into four main objectives of the proposal. And after that, you make the goal. So everyone write a goal about the project, and you vote on only one. And this one is not the final one because it needs to be collective. So how do you do this? You put the image of the goal written in a paper, and you write together. You change the words, you change the goals, you change what you want, you express yourself together, and everyone does the same thing. Everyone participates, everyone puts their words, they change it, they collaborate, they create something together. This means that at this point, the project idea is really not about only one person idea, is really the group idea. So you really build this community and you make this a collective project. So after that, you start making the spider web, they call it, is cut a bit. And then you organize the tasks and you see who is going to be assigned for these tasks. You start putting budget and time to that, and just an image on how this might look, which post-its you arrange. So you have four parts on this planning area: the dreams, plan, do, and celebrate. They're all here again. And then you have the three goals inside each one of them, and they are separated in internal factors that only depend on the group and external factors that depend on the community, so they're external of the group, and the intermediate factors that you can balance. So we start putting the tasks in each part of this mesh, and then you start connecting them and seeing the sequence of your tasks, and then assigning these tasks for everyone. And this is very important for the doing part, because now you have to implement that and you have to manage and monitor this process. What happened is that with this doing, you have to go from the theory to practice, right? You have to create tactics to enable the project to happen. You you have to make sure that everyone assigned to their task will accomplish that, will finish on time, that they will do their tasks in sequence, and then that's why you have to always be aware of the doing process. And then conflicts will appear in here too, because it's a doing process. It's like hands-on, right? So the thing is that you have to think about how to work creatively with these conflicts, how to make them to turn into something good, and then make it work for everyone. And then the last part is celebrating. Always need to celebrate. Celebrating is a very important part of the project, because um, you have to understand this. You have to confirm the new skills you learned. You have to see the results and think about what you're going to do with these results, and then build wisdom on that. Not just for you, but the community. But this is individual. Everyone will think about their wisdom about it. We will discuss, we will celebrate this, and then internally you're going to observe these ideas. Um, so celebrating is honoring the process. is dancing with dragons. So you come out of your comfort zone, you process all that, and now you're dancing with your own dragons. You are understanding your troubles and you are dancing with them. So that's why celebrating is a very important part of the process. So I brought some exercises for us to do. Goran will help me with that.
Definitely. So most of you are certainly aware from your practices, and many of you teach these practices and are deeply engaged in various modalities of such practices, such as deep listening. You're aware how powerful and transformative they are. And, there are various ways of engaging in the practice of deep listening. Um, However, whichever kind of approach we take, sort of up that mountain towards the pinnacle of deep listening, usually there is something about calming oneself and kind of connecting to the body, because we tend to spend a lot of time looking outward. And of course, we're dealing with many things in our lives. And usually that signal for deep listening, it starts with inviting oneself to connect one's own body, to calm oneself, and to kind of prepare for the listening process.
So I'd like to ask you and invite you, if you want, to make this deep listening with us today. So close your eyes and then embrace your environment, calm yourself, and connect to your own body. Be here, present. So feel the weight of your body and connect to the chair where you're sitting in. And then breathe deeply and feel this breathing in and breathing out. Hear the trumpet of your heart. Feel how your body is alive. Remove the tensions of your body. If you find that some part of your body is tense, just work on it, release it, make it, lighter. And silence the little voices inside your head. Forget about them. They're not there. Release yourself, your heart, your mind of all judgment. Thank you, everyone. The next exercise we want to ask you to think about it is about some generative questions. So I brought some of them for us today. So I want you to think about a project you have been working on, or that you're, intending to work on, some new ideas for school, some new ideas for a new project of your house, of your art or design, something that you want to do it or you have been doing. And then we're going to ask you some questions.
So the first question is, and with this, we'll open it to the group to reflect on and think about, and to certainly chime in with anything that naturally pops up, so no pressure. The first question is, what would enable you to say as you think about the project? I'm so pleased I worked on this project. So Stan, I'm not sure if you would like to open it up to the group to maybe share some thoughts, if anyone would like to share what that is, if anything is bubbling up. I see someone's raised their hand. Go ahead.
Hi. So I think the community project that I'm working on right now, I think I've felt that just by witnessing my collaborators and the people that I was even interviewing for like the documentary that we're working on called Mycelia of Creation. Just actually watching these people interact with each other and kind of generate these ideas and epiphanies that are kind of creating a thread by itself. So it's to facilitate conversations as some that can offer something for collective good is something that has made me feel really grateful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thanks so much for the sharing, and it's really beautiful, isn't it? And you know what we heard you say is really reflecting on how just creating those generative spaces where creativity enables people to share and build something greater together, that's really larger than the sum of its parts. It's is so rewarding, and that is something that makes you pleased to be working on this project. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Any other reflections? Go ahead.
I think like one more thing I would just add is I think this would make everybody smile a little is today I was interviewing someone for this same documentary and we were out in nature and this person is a wilderness therapist and they're talking about connecting with nature and all of that. And there's a small little bird on a branch right in front of them and she's very intently listening as they're talking about it and she comes and sits on the finger.
Wow.
And it was such a pure moment to actually just witness that that connection happen naturally. I think like that was like one of the most beautiful moments I've seen. So yeah, that's I think that
So you hear it again.
sorry. Yeah, that was something that sat with me that it's like actually uh, while imagining this collective future in connection with nature and people and community, nature itself came to us to say yes. Uh, and that's what we dream about. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's so beautiful. And if I may reflect on that, it seems like by engaging in such a generative project yourselves, you are really expanding creatively into the world, and even nature is responding to it. And so this seems very much in line with the dragon dreaming as a method and asking these questions in a generative way. What would make us pleased? What would make me pleased to work on something like this? Because it creates, I think, from the dragon dreaming perspective, a different kind of energy that is somehow felt. We might not be able to describe it, but to your point, you can see it as a kind of infectious happiness among the group. It reflects and reveals itself as collaboration. It's wonderful. Maria, did you want to add?
No, I think that's exactly yes, that reinforces the energy, right, of our decisions. Um, yeah. So let's consider a project that you wanna join, but you're not that sure about it. You know, like you still feel like something is not right for you. So the next question is, what could make the project the right project for you? Is there some project that you have been thinking about it, but they're not like really engaging in the direction you want? It's just you are aware of it, but you are not that motivated that you can, add to this idea. Maybe someone has some project that has the same you know situation. So I would like to open to everyone if someone is interested in sharing right now.
Does anything come up for your experience naturally? Does it kind of bubble up to the surface as you think of things that you might wish to get involved with, but that maybe perhaps for some reason you might not have quite jumped into yet? Maybe it's a question of time or clarity or participation. Is there anything that comes to mind for any of you?
For me, I think, and this is being echoed in the chats too, is that it works for me best when it can exemplify what I can add to it or what I can do for it, right? Like where the skills that I have or my ability to be able to add a personal touch, or it creates a heart matter to it, even if it's work, right? Then I perform best when the project is kind of aligned that way. Like, I mean, we've all had work that we've done or worked in a collaborative situation where you can almost see from the onset there's no point to this, like it is a pointless venture, and you have to wonder at the end, what are we going to actually do with this? Well, when you're working in that environment, it kind of beats you down and it's very hard on your system. You end up going home and you're brainstorming ways to make it better, and sometimes there just really isn't. So when it kind of can work, like when my skills can add to it, when my heart is involved to it, then I know it's the right project for me. Everything else beyond that or outside of that just simply becomes work, right? And it's something that you're going to kind of rush through and you're not really putting your 110% effort in. So just my thought.
Wow, I love that reflection, Tanya. If you just may reflect on that briefly, you know, it's so amazing what you shared there because um, you make it makes so much sense. You know that you know shouldn't we talk about what is it that make people feel that they're included in the project? What is it that makes people feel comfortable when they're as part of a project? You know, it suddenly makes so much sense that it would be logical to talk about that perhaps at some point close to the beginning of the project, because as you say, you know, maybe perhaps we are most motivated when we know that we can contribute something, that we can add something of value, and when there's a little bit of clarity around how that might occur. And isn't it so interesting that when we think about how we usually deliver projects, isn't it that we usually go about it the other way around? We say, let's just have the end, let's just have the accomplishment. And in this rushing kind of towards the accomplishment, maybe we perhaps, you know, miss some opportunities to truly create this generative field that Dragon Dreaming invites us into to empower and enable anyone. Did anyone want to reflect on that? There's some other comments. If someone raise a hand, go ahead.
I think I lost my connection for a moment there. I'm being given permission to go ahead, am I?
Yes, absolutely.
So an organization to me is a little bit like a marriage. You've got to work at it. And so you can have an organization that is actually pretty good for you, but there are going to be ups and downs in it. People will disagree, even though you have the same fundamental ideas. And you just you can't expect too much. It's a case of contributing what you can. Certainly, it's a situation which is true of marriage too, that some of them you just have to get out of. Luckily, I haven't experienced that, but that is the case. However, quite often, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And so, Fred, what you just said, you think about what you could do to make it better and everything else, and that's I want to just sort of reinforce that. That's really important.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, because you know you introduced this, I think, very important notion that, you know, even though we might, if I understood you correctly, you know, even though we might come up with maybe the best of intentions and ideas to enrich some space and to maybe make it as generative as possible, perhaps certain spaces like organizations or existing things that have existing momentum, maybe there's a kind of a limit to which they're able to adapt to diversity and diverse ideas. And I think what we're, you know, hear you say is that it's good to be aware of that, and kind of also reasonable about, you know, where those limits might be. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Want to go for the next one?
Yeah.
So the next question is Stan, like you said, right? So sometimes some projects are not right for me. But what if, like the person wants to include you anyway, wants your ideas, your skills somehow. So how can we create an environment in a way that you motivate people to participate? How can you embrace other ideas, other skills, and make it more collaborative? So I think this is a question that we all wonder, especially if you want to work with communities. This is a generative question that probably takes us in lots of situations, because how can we motivate people? How can we bring them to us to work with us, right? I think this is something that it has been taking part of my days too, because I want to work with communities. So how can I make them feel comfortable about participating and wanting to share their ideas and embrace the ideas, and also contribute to these ideas, right? Because the moment you spread these ideas to other people, is it doesn't belong to you anymore. It should belong to the group, right? So how do we disconnect to that and create something together?
Thank you for that, Maria. So the instigation then is really to perhaps reflect on your current or past experiences where you have worked in environments where maybe you were the facilitator and you created that environment that was very generative and very motivating to people, perhaps in your classroom or on a project, or something where you had a kind of an instigative role, or perhaps you were a participant, you had a participative role, and you really loved how that environment was created in a generative way. People felt motivated, they were in the community, they wanted to participate. So again, this is really an invitation to explore what might be some of those tips. What might have you noticed, whether you kind of were creating these environments or participating? What was working and why and how? So go ahead, guys. Any ideas, thoughts, reflections, whatever's naturally bubbling up. We see a hand raised. Go ahead.
I think to create an environment such as that, I feel it's really important to make people feel safe. I think to uh, have that agency to be part of the project, because I feel like a lot of people might have perceptions about certain silent hierarchies within a project, even if you are trying to work on a community project that is not rigid in that sense. I feel there are perceived hierarchies that can be confused for expertise. So I feel like actually creating that agency outright from the beginning might help people feel like empowered to kind of express themselves.
Mm. That's wonderful and so important. Thank you so much for sharing that feeling that, as you say, we kind of have a permission to get engaged, that our views will be valued, and that it's a kind of a safe space. I mean, recently there has been a lot of research, kind of resurgence around this term of psychologically safe spaces for all those of us that are kind of engaged in collaboration research. So these psychologically safe spaces have turned out to be exactly as you suggest, key to trust building. And trust building, precisely as you suggest, it turns out is kind of a precursor for engaging the community. At least many folks think so, or are claiming as much. So I find this is so valuable what you're sharing, and in some sense, almost seems like the foundation of this ability to create an environment that motivates people. Any thoughts and reflections on that, guys, or any other comments?
I can see a hand up. Go ahead.
Who, me? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Can't
Sorry.
get- I can't get the hand to work at the bottom of the screen for some reason. It worked in my last screen. I was going to say transparency, and that all views are valued and respected. Oftentimes in groups, especially affiliated with universities, people are making political reasoning for personal gain, political decisions for personal gain, because there's all this hierarchical stuff that goes on in university systems and in education in general. So if there could be a more welcoming environment of all ideas and everybody's has an equal voice, that would be a good thing. And it even transfers into, you know, even when you retire from the university system, if you're in other groups and trying to help the university or whatever, people get a kind of mindset of that. So, and it depends on the type of group that you're in. In more creative groups, it's a little different. And I find overall what you're presenting, and thank you for this presentation, I think about a design model, but it seems more about mindfulness. So it's a design model that's a little turned around so that it's more mindful in the way in which it's going about thinking and reflecting back on the work that you're doing. So I find this very interesting, but I just thought I'd throw that in.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that sharing and that reflection. It I think highlights yet another aspect that's so critical and important to consider, that notion of transparency, because isn't that, I think, as you suggest, also so important towards kind of building to what the previous speaker, I think, talked about, this level of trust and making certain that we're in a safe space. Transparency, as you say, I think really serves to become yet another one of these enablers of an environment that can motivate people in the community. Marie, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. No, I want to thank you for the question. It was for the enlightenment, because it's a very important thing. Transparency is very important because you have to have a safe communication inside the group, right? And transparency is something very important in this process. I don't think we can have a good and a successful project if we don't have this process, right? Of, you know, being aware of other people's thinking. So thank you so much for that. I just want to finish with the last exercise. If you want to share, just to invite it, if you want to share, if you had or have a moment of aha, like in your life or before or now, and a new understanding, connections that you make by realizing different fields in your career, and then things that help you to merge into a novelty or something like this. So we want to open up for you to say if you had an aha moment. I had some of them in my life, and they were great. And then they were popping out more often if people were sharing with me. So it's really contagious. So it's a very interesting process when you start having this sharing, and then you see that everyone is having different ideas, and then you kind of connect them together, and then they're all coming out. It's very interesting process.
And go ahead, open up to you guys any aha moments in this presentation or in general that kind of just naturally flow to the surface of your consciousness as you think about what aha moments might you have had in your life that you found very generative, that are kind of aligned with these ideas from dragon dreaming, or that are sort of in the field of dragon dreaming as sort of creative and generative techniques that come to mind. Go ahead.
So I actually had something like that last week, and I actually wrote it down in like 8 quick bullet points. I could actually just share my screen for a moment instead of speaking about it so that everyone can read it, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Just share that. Let me know if everyone can see my screen.
It's coming up. So, oh yeah, we see that.
Okay, yeah. So there's like just two small things. So let me know when you all are done with the first page.
You've had some pretty big ones. These are some pretty good aha moments over here. This is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, just let me know if everyone's done reading these, and then I'll switch to the second part of it.
I think we're coming up on time, or we'll have to switch back to Stan, but maybe we can just take a look at the second page very quickly.
Okay, sure. All right, stop share quickly. The second page. Okay.
We
Yeah.
have someone else that has raised their hand. That
I'll share it in the email, the whole thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I apologize. We're slightly over time. Stan, back to you. Great questions and reflections. As always, an incredibly inspiring group that's full of generative ideas. Thank you so much. Back to you, Stan.
Well, thank you both, Goran and Maria. That was really good. And what a great way to kind of go into and out of October, right? So thank you for that very engaging discussion. And thank you, Yaya, as well, for actually sharing that last little bit. This is exactly what our idea jams are all about, is to have something different each time, to have something to talk about when you walk away. And it is so nice when we can spend that time together with each other doing that. So a little over time, we're okay with that. We want you to know that we are socially connected as Scenic, so check out our website at, this is going to be long, www.canadiannetworkforimaginationandcreativity.com. All one thing. We can also be found on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube under Scenic. Right? Find us online for more information and links to register for Idea Jams, bios, view our past Idea Jam sessions, and chats and other helpful information about us and what's coming up. As we close for the evening, I want to thank you again for joining us for this past hour. This, for me, is always very exciting. I love every Idea Jam that we do. And it's nice to see familiar faces. It's nice to have new people come back, because as this continues, there's something for everybody. And what I find fascinating about this is each time that we come back, there's something more fascinating to keep doing. So please enjoy the rest of your October. Get some good treats, hopefully maybe some decent tricks if that's kind of working for you, but definitely enjoy the rest of your October. Keep an eye out for your emails for what's coming up in November. And if you're not getting emails from us, head to our website and register there. We would love to be able to send you all the information that we can and fill up your emails. Other than that, everybody have a great evening. Have a good weekend. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving, and we can't wait to see you again next month. Good night, everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye, guys.